All right, everybody, welcome to New York's #2 sports show. It's producer Casey here, as always, with Mr. Derek Fass. And you guessed it, guys, another shitty week in New York football as the Jets get absolutely annihilated by the Jacksonville Jaguars. And the Giants lose to the Washington Commanders, who, up until today, had an 8-game losing streak going into this game. And the Giants were like, we should break that for them. It's, we don't want them to have that. So, yeah, here we are again, Derek. Here we are, buddy. 4 more weeks.
Yeah, it's unbelievable how our teams have a combined record of 5-23 this season. And the Giants and Jets have been the 2 worst teams in the last, decade. Let's call it decade, give or take, right? Whatever, so the suck continues, really just amazingly so. Giants, Commanders, I was certainly rooting for the Giants to lose. I mean, I've made that pretty clear. We haven't really spoken about that at length, but there's nothing to hide from here. I mean, with it's not you could spoil against a good team or something. This is a game against a Commander team where there's just every reason to want to lose. Now you could still root for, and look, everyone's entitled to the way they want to go about it, right? I don't blame anyone for anything, but to me, there's so many reasons why that was more advantageous. And again, Joe Schoen being the biggest thing, how in the fucking world can he continue to be the GM? Fire his ass tomorrow. I mean,
Yeah.
let's get down to it. You know what I mean? They won't, but it's it's a fucking total embarrassment, this team. It really, really is. Giants currently hold the #1 pick. I'm trying to think if I want to talk about that. Maybe I'll talk about right now at the top here.
Go for it.
Giants have the #1 pick, and then we'll, discuss Giants Commanders a little bit. The problem is this, and look, this was a big game against Washington. Washington only had 3 wins, like you said, Casey. They were on an 8-game losing streak. Now the Giants are on an 8-game losing streak, and but the Giants' remaining schedule, it's not that difficult. Now they'll take on a Viking team who actually is on a 2-game winning streak. That all said, the Giants could win that game. Look, I know the Giants are terrible, right? The Giants can lose to anyone, right? But maybe, I don't know, maybe my thoughts are, and it isn't as winnable as maybe it appeared a couple weeks ago when J.J. McCarthy was looking absolutely horrible. All that to say, I think the Giants could very well lose it, but you don't know for sure. The real big one is the Raiders, who are one of the few teams that actually look worse than our teams. They look really, really bad. That very well could be for the #1 pick right then and there. And then the last week of the season, the Cowboys lost to the Vikings. And so while on paper, if they do stick with Dak and CeeDee Lamb and Pickens, if they go with the normal lineup, right, the Cowboys in theory should win that game, but if they have nothing on the line, and that's even if they play their guys, I'm concerned about that. But again, don't want to make a huge deal about it. It's more about Joe Schoen than it is the pick. But hell, you have the #1 overall pick. There's a lot of value that comes with that. There's going to be teams such as possibly the Jets that might want to trade up. And so just really pleased that they lost today, understanding that this is an absolute dumpster fire, right? I'm not I wish it wasn't this way. It wasn't a fun watch. These are not, year after year I've done this, and it's not fun. And it's actually it was stressful, actually. I mean, Washington tried their best to hand the game to the Giants. This game was over multiple times, and then you had Mariota fumble just inexplicably. I believe McNichols, I think it was him, that fumbled as well. This game got actually very close when it shouldn't have. So again, Giants lose again, 8 in a row, which is crazy, and there's no reason in hell that Joe Schoen or anyone really. There's only a few people on this coaching staff, the O-line coach. I'm totally fine if he is kept on, but I mean, the special teams is a fucking disaster. We spoke about it against the Patriots, and it was fucking terrible again today in almost every way imaginable. They don't know. I mean, as far as there was a punt return touchdown. Younghoe Koo is missing kicks left and right. We can't find a kicker to save our lives.
Right.
So those are just a few things, right? And so. A lot of people need to be. Mike Kafka is not a head coach. I mean, he's just not. He doesn't. You look at the guy. He's not. He's an offensive coordinator. He is not a head coach. It'd be a mistake. Look, maybe in a few years things change, but right now for a team to hire him, I think would just be a mistake personally.
No.
He doesn't have what it takes to be a head coach. But again, he was put in a tough situation. But, for all the people that hated Dable, and look, I agree he's going to be fired. You see, it's not about that. This team's bad. This team's terrible. This roster sucks. And Abdul Carter was actually very good today. He was very good.
Best game, right?
He was very good. And look,
Yeah.
Carter is someone that, look, the talent is there, right? To me, like any bus talk or anything like that, like, look, as much as negative as I can be, he's a good player. Now, look, will he live up to the hype? We'll see, right? Because he has been underwhelming this year and all the off the field crap. But if he can, there is one positive take out of this game. It is Carter. He did play well. Do I wish that it happened in more meaningful games? Sure. But I'm not going to hold that against him. I mean, Kayvon Thibodeau continues to be out with a shoulder injury. So Carter's been getting a lot of time and doing well. It's interesting. Brian Burns has actually been kind of quiet after his red hot start. Haven't heard as much from him. Carter, on the other hand, was really all over the place. 3 tackles for loss. Again, he had a sack. He had as well, I believe it was a forced fumble and a fumble recovery, I believe is the way it went down. But yeah, man, really the Giants, they never had the lead in this game. And I'll try to kind of go through it quickly here. But Jaxson Dart did not have a very good first half. Was a lot better the second half, although the last drive wasn't good. And then in the middle of that, he did leave the game. He went to the blue tent. And, was that maybe being a little bit overcautious? Possibly. And so I kind of fall somewhere in the middle on here because, look, I think Dart, you got to be careful with Dart. But at the same time, like, there probably has been a little bit more on it than maybe it needs to be. Like, it does bother me when they do some of this stuff and kind of put him in positions to get hurt. He's got to be smarter. But at the same time, like, it's part of what makes him effective and good. So,
yeah,
like I said,
the press conference as well, he even kind of brought it up, right? And was kind of like, I don't even know what's going on with that, right? Something along those lines. I mean, so
and even he's spotters,
confused. Yeah,
he is. Yeah, you can tell he's pretty pissed off about it. And I think that, look, the ironic thing is they missed it in Chicago. Like the game where he actually got the concussion.
Yep.
He still ended up playing after that. So now I feel like maybe they're overdoing it now. Because he really was fine. It didn't even look that bad. So, and they did it like after it was first the goal. This was actually a pretty, like, you're right there. It's like first it was at the 1 or 2 yard line. So
yeah, Jameis came in for a snap, right?
Jameis came in for a few plays. It didn't work out. And ultimately they turned it over. Jaxson Dart came in on the 4th down play. They turned it over on downs.
Right.
But, I guess I'll talk individually for a little bit, and then I'll try to kind of go through the key points of the game. Tyrone Tracy had a really good game. 15 for 70 on the ground with a rushing touchdown, and then he had a really nice receiving touchdown. 3 catches, 27 yards for again that touchdown. So 2 all-purpose touchdowns for Tracy. Whereas it kind of had been a little bit of a combination of Tracy and Singletary. In this game, it was a lot more Tyrone Tracy, which is the way to go. I mean, he was a rookie, a really good rookie last year. I think that him and Scattaboo will form a pretty solid duo. Maybe someone else gets thrown into the mix there, but I think that's the core of it. And he looked really good in this one. Theo Johnson made one big play. He was only targeted 4 times. Made one 42-yard catch. Wan'Dale Robinson had a really nice touchdown at the end. A little bit of, like, I guess, a hit and miss with him. 5 for 54 and a touchdown. Darius Slade, the drops are just terrible. He went 4 for 53 on 10 targets, but he had a drop in the end zone. He had another bad drop. It's been a really rough season for him, and we'll see what his future is. I mean, they signed him to a 3-year extension this year, this being year 1. And then, on the defensive side, I touched on Carter, who was really good. But look, it's not a good defense. I mean, Marcus Mariota wasn't great. He was 10 for 19 for 211 and a touchdown. But, like, when he needed to, he found guys open. I mean, Terry McLaurin had a big, I think it was a 51-yard touchdown. And but the running lanes were there. Krosky Merritt, specifically, he had a nice game. He hasn't really had a great season, really recently especially. And Chris Rodriguez was out. Didn't really matter. They were able to do what they needed to do on the ground. I mean, the Giants are used to doing worse, but still, Washington basically controlled the game, and special teams plays a very big factor here, right? Because if you look at the offensive stats, they're pretty even and in some ways leaning Giants, although that's a little bit, the Giants were in trail mode. So naturally they're going to have more passing yards, more passing attempts, things like that. Right. But the third down efficiency for both teams were bad. Washington 3 for 11, Giants 2 for 12, including the Giants were 2 for 4 on fourth downs. But yeah, another divisional loss for the Giants. This is now 4 straight losses versus the Commanders, which I think they said on the broadcast was the first time that's happened since 98 through 2000 was the last time. The Giants usually are on the better end of this. Again, pleased they lost this game, as that's too many times I've seen the Giants beat Washington in these sort of meaningless late game scenarios. But yeah, man, Washington really got off to a nice start. Opening drive field goal for them. Jake Moody caps it off at the 46-yard field. Then the Giants miss a field goal. Younghoe Koo misses a 52. A couple of punts. Then out of the second quarter, Krosky Merritt with a 16-yard touchdown after just some easy plays. Mariota to Deebo Samuel. Krosky Merritt with a nice run. Mariota scrambled a good amount. Giants punt. Then Washington settles for a field goal. Really, at the point when it was 13-0, Washington could have been up by more than that, really. But then it seemed like maybe the momentum was turning, where the Giants get a touchdown, capped off by a Tyrone Tracy 12-yard run on a 3rd and 10, actually. I guess it kind of caught Washington off guard there. It was a surprising call, but it worked. One thing I want to go back to, actually, kind of open flow of consciousness here, was really a bad challenge by Mike Kafka early. I guess it didn't matter that much, but he challenged a spot. It was a 3rd and 1 where they gave Washington the first down. And to me, I think it might have been Deebo Samuel, and Kafka challenged it there. Even if let's say you win the challenge, they just would have went for it on 4th and 1. It was early in the game. It wasn't that conclusive return. Yeah, he's struggled in that department as far as just challenging and things like that, I've noticed. But again, whatever. Washington goes 3 and out, Giants go 3 and out. And then at the end of the half, where it looks like the Giants might have a chance to maybe do something, right, is where Washington's that 3 and out. The Giants punted away after they go 3 and out. It was really rough drive by Jermaine Illuminor. He's had a really good season. He struggled big time on this drive. Dart took a sack against Von Miller because of him. He had a false start. And it ends up being a punt return touchdown for Jalen Lane. And Cameron Johnston, who looks like Bill Burr, it's crazy. He is the Giant punter now, with Jamie Gillen out, and the punts were bad. He runs up and it's like a line drive. It's pretty fucking ugly. So as much as I want to blame the special teams, he doesn't help that at all. He kind of puts them in a bad position where it's this kind of low line drive. They can't get down there in time, and Washington was able to set up easy blocks, and Lane gets the touchdown, 63 yards. Moody misses the extra point, 19-7. So where it looked like the Giants were going to totally flip this thing over, Washington gets that touchdown, and then Jaxson Dart throws a pick at the end of the half. Of course, intended towards Jalen Hyatt, because anything that goes towards Hyatt is an absolute disaster. And it's returned the other way, and Washington gets a end-of-half field goal to make it 22-7. So 42-yard field goal for Jake Moody, 22-7 Commanders. Giants come out of the second half with a nice drive, 7-play, 82-yard drive, a little over 3 minutes, and it's Dart to Tracy for 18 yards. So the Giants show some pushback there. Washington punts. They trade off punts. We go to the fourth quarter. And the Giants pulled what looked to be a decent drive. All of a sudden, they started going to Daniel Bellinger. There was a 4th and 1 conversion at their own 40 late in the third quarter. And it started actually 3 successive completions to Daniel Bellinger, all of at least 10 yards. But a John Michael Schmitz unnecessary roughness penalty really set them back. A 15-yard penalty there, to the point where we go to the fourth quarter and Younghoe Koo misses a 51-yard field goal. So think about that for a moment. The Giants originally had a 1st and 10 at the 25, which you think at a bare minimum would be a reasonable field goal opportunity. They end up losing all those yards, and Koo misses again. And then on just 2 plays, capped off by a Mariota to McLaurin 51-yard touchdown, Washington takes a 29-14 lead. Then it's the drive where the Giants go down all the way to the 1, and Dart gets hurt. Like we talked about, KC, Jameis Winston comes in for a few plays.
Yep.
Doesn't really work out. And then Dart comes actually in on the 4th down after Washington called timeout, and it's incomplete to Wan'Dale Robinson. So now Washington is really in the driver's seat. I mean, and they're moving the ball. It's basically over. And for whatever the reason, Marcus Mariota he fumbles the ball. I don't really know he should have just went down. If he just goes down, Washington punts it away, the game's over. Instead, he fumbles it on a 3rd and 12 at midfield. Just really, I don't know what he was thinking. And Brian Burns recovers it to the Washington 21. And on 4th down, on a 4th and 5, Jaxson Dart throws it up to Wan'Dale Robinson, and he makes the catch for a 16-yard touchdown. So the Giants are just hanging on. So they get that. So now it's 29-21. They don't go for 2. Sometimes we see that a lot these days, down trying to go from 9 to 7. They go from 9 to 8. And then Washington, now it looks like, yet again, this Giant defense is awful. They're moving the ball. They get a really big play from Mariota to Ben Sinnott, or Sinnott. Zach Ertz out for the season, getting hurt last week. And, we'll see if that's the end of his career. So, Washington dealing with a lot of injuries as well. And in this game, Laramie Tunsil, the left tackle, was kind of in and out of the game. Noah Brown got hurt. But at this point, Giants called all the timeouts, and Washington, all they needed to do was just, again, not turn the ball over. This was game over. And caused by Abdul Carter, a fumble, he forced the fumble on Jeremy McNichols and recovered by Carter, and the play stood. And so the Giants get the ball back. Inexplicably, again, Washington trying to hand the game to the Giants. They have all momentum at this point. They're down by 8 points.
Yeah.
There's a little over 2 minutes left. But ultimately, they do get a first down going to the 2-minute warning. And so now it's 1st and 10 at the Washington 40. Dart incomplete to Wan'Dale Robinson. Dart to Tracy for 2 yards. Dart incomplete to Darius Slayton. And then Dart incomplete to Wan'Dale Robinson. And it's over. Giants lose 29-21. A game that they, were trailing the whole way against a bad Washington team who was on an 8-game losing streak. And so that's what it is. The fact that I went into all that probably says a lot about myself, that, but you know what? I think it was easier for me to do that because I wanted them to lose. So, I may not have given you the breakdown to that extent if they had won. So it's a sad place to be as a Giant fan, but I think that losing is the best thing that can happen, while also understanding that this team, it's going to be bad for, look, maybe it is good next year, but it's a sad state of affairs for this team. So that's what it is. Next week, Giants-Vikings. Vikings on a 2-game winning streak, and they'll come to MetLife Stadium, and we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, yeah, that's the thing, right? It's like, what we know about Jaxson Dart right now, I mean, I think is all we really need to know for this season, right? I mean, these next 3 weeks, I don't think are really going to change anything about, how I think, the Giants organization and the fans are going to feel about Dart in that direction of things, right? So you're kind of in like this limbo state. So, yeah, I mean, it sucks to lose, but I guess it's probably the best thing right now. And I mean, kind of the same thing for the Jets here, man. I mean, unfortunately, both of our teams are kind of in the market for losses. So,
yeah, I mean, absolutely. Yeah. And with Dart, look, I think he's looked a little bit worse since he came back.
He has a little bit. He's taken a little bit of a step back, I'd say.
Going from Dable to Kafka, and just the whole thing with with the run, with the whole talk around, him, getting hurt and whatnot. But that all said, like you said, Casey, I don't think that the opinion, unless it just somehow goes really bad, the opinion's not going to change. I think that, people are pro Jaxson Dart, but you have seen, some slippage lately. But with that said, also some really nice plays within that too.
Right. And the losing, like you mentioned, will probably get Shane, thrown out the door here.
I'm hoping.
You would hope. So I guess all things that, I think most Giant fans, including yourself, are kind of rooting for here in these last three games here that we got. But yeah. So, I mean, that's the thing, man. I mean, we could pivot over here to the Jets, and unfortunately, I mean, not too much to talk about here. I mean, we got absolutely shellacked by the Jacksonville Jaguars. And, once again, the second straight week with just a lack of effort just coming out of this game, just right from the start. I mean, last week being the Miami Dolphins game, just no juice from these Jets. And it was unfortunate because, in the middle part of this season where we won 3 games, we looked like a competent football team right after all the trades with Sauce and Quinn Williams. We kind of, had the semblance of a football team that wants to fight. And, I think the conversations on this pod and on other pods was, commending Aaron Glenn for having this team ready to go, even though, there's really not much there in terms of talent and injuries and stuff like that. But man, these last 2 weeks, it's just been very embarrassing to be a Jets fan, which I guess it is most of the time. But Just really ugly way to go. I mean, the defense absolutely abysmal. I mean, Wilkes. I really don't see how. I mean, I would be surprised if he got fired tomorrow. To be honest, we're recording this Sunday night. He's absolutely awful. I mean, the defense just has no juice whatsoever. I mean, once again, no interceptions for the defense. 14 weeks now or whatever it is. So just really, really sad on that side of the ball. I mean, Trevor Lawrence literally had the best game of his career, threw for 5 touchdowns, ran one in, and he
It's
absolutely
amazing.
could have had more. That's what's even crazier. He missed a few throws. If any of you guys watched the game, which I had to for some reason, kind of like what Derek was talking about, but that's why we like to analyze the game here. But yeah, I mean, Trevor Lawrence could have had, shattered records. That's how bad the defense was. But, that is what it is. I mean, not that we were expecting a win here. Obviously, we had Brady Cook starting his first legit start. Obviously, he's not going to be the answer here for the Jets, but I do think, he played, I guess competently enough. I don't even want to use that word, but I think he should start for the rest of the season, I guess is my point. Like, I don't think there's any point in going back to Justin Fields or, Tyrod Taylor, who'll probably get hurt, within 2 plays or something like that. So I think Brady Cook has been deserved of starting for the next 3 weeks here. And to his credit, he looked good on like it was the second drive of the game for the Jets, but the one where he scored his first touchdown pass to Mitchell, that was a really good drive. But ultimately threw 3 picks in the game. A lot happened in the second half of this game that were just brutal. But you never really just had any chance. Brees Hall, 12 carries for 23 yards, 1.9 yards per carry. And I mean, like, look, I understand that there's not much offense here. And basically, I guess the Jacksonville strategy is just to stack the box on Brees. But I don't know. I mean, I just feel like, it it just seems like, these stellar running backs that, Brees Hall sometimes gets compared to wouldn't really have a game as abysmal as this is 1.9 yards per carry. But maybe that's not the the thing to be paying attention to. But it's just something to note that really stuck out to me is just he's kind of he's hit or miss, which is unfortunate. But again, not much to work with here on the offensive side of the ball. Nice to see Mitchell get involved again. Like I mentioned, he had that touchdown pass at the end of the day with 6 catches for 58 yards. Um, Isaiah Williams had some actually he got involved in the offense too, with 6 catches for 53 yards, in fact. And in the middle of the second half, he actually had a punt return. I mean, he's unbelievable. I mean, he might be like all pro in special teams. I mean, he's had what a incredible story, especially after the fact that he was the one that got cut week 4, I believe, on Monday Night Football against the Dolphins when he had a bunch of gas when he called the fair catch at the 1 yard line and fumbled the ball. And then, the Jets picked him back up. And, to his credit, he's really kind of stepped into that role, tenfold. Unfortunately, the punt return today got called back for an illegal out of bounds block, which was a little kind of like ticky tack. Even the broadcasters, Ross Tucker, was on the call, and even he thought that the guy got back in bounds. So kind of annoying, kind of unfortunate. You would have liked to, just see that for Isaiah Williams as, I guess the one shining light here for the Jets in terms of just getting another touchdown on his belt. But I mean, that was really it, bro. I mean, just a really kind of ugly game. I mean, really, we're never in this game. Just always clawing back. I mean, by the end of the half, it was 31-10. And, the score, again, I don't know if I mentioned the final score, but 48-20. And like I mentioned, Brady Cook with 3 picks. And just, yeah, disappointing with just the lack of effort here. And, I guess games like this make it concerning that we have Aaron Glenn definitely coming back next year. It's that you kind of just have to kind of take it and like I guess embrace this guy and just try and believe in him. But these last 2 weeks have been very telling on him. However, though, I mean, I will say on a positive light, this trade that we made with Sauce Gardner with the Colts is just getting better and better by the week. The Colts did put up a valiant effort against the Seahawks today with Phillip Rivers coming in, but ultimately lost the game. And so look, Jets are going to keep losing. If the Colts keep losing, that pick will get better. We got the Saints next week, which is going to be huge for, our draft position. Luckily, the Saints won today against Carolina, which is helpful. But, if we're trying to have a draft pick within that top 5 range, we're probably going to have to lose this game to the Saints. Because after that, then we have the Pats and the Bills, which you would figure we're going to lose those games, especially because after this crazy game that Buffalo and the Patriots had today, they're both going to be fighting for that AFC East spot, so they're going to be playing hard. So those are probably going to be 2 losses, but you do get nervous about that Saints game. But in terms of the only thing that's concerning, obviously, with the Jets is that the Raiders are in the market for a quarterback as well, and they are, as you mentioned earlier, probably worse than both of our teams. So, that game with you guys in 2 weeks from now is going to be huge. Hopefully, for both of our sakes,
Hopefully we lose.
beat you. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that would help us both out tremendously.
Yes.
That's really, this is the kind of stuff I think you kind of have to be eyeing for now as
Yes.
Jets and Giants fans, is just these kind of key matchups here. So
Yes.
obviously next week with the Saints for us, and then, we'll be rooting for you guys hard in 2 weeks against the Raiders. But
Yeah.
that's about it with that game. If you want to just, talk a little big picture here, or
Not a whole lot. It's with the blowout nature of it. Yeah, it's tough. Like to really get into the nitty gritty of just Jaguars. Jaguars, are right in the thick of the race.
Yeah.
Brady Cook. Not that it would have mattered whether it was Brady Cook or not. Like you said, concerning that the defense just gets obliterated like it has. I know they traded Sauce Gardner and Quentin Williams, but it's with Aaron Glenn and the Jet teams, of recent years of the defense is supposed to be kind of the lifeblood and but yet a lot of times, you see them get really demolished like last week against the Dolphins. So
and Glenn again is supposed to be a defensive guy. He has made it a point though in recent press conferences to kind of be saying that he's not in charge of the defense and it is Wilkes's defense, which I think might be more of a PR kind of angle here, because I would assume that Wilkes is not going to be here next year. God willing, I don't think he can.
Yeah, what do you make of that? Because usually, you take, put it on me. But based on what you're saying, he basically threw Wilkes under the bus. Is what you're saying?
Yeah, he was just in past press conferences, he's made a point to kind of just highlight that he's not really in charge of the play calling, and it's really Wilkes's play calling. Most of the time. So just like subtle jabs. I don't think he's he's not outwardly blaming it on Wilkes, but he's making it known that it's not his calls. Right. Is basically what I'm trying to get at. Yeah.
Yeah. And like you said, I wouldn't have this game. I think we kind of would have felt like it might be a blowout, but that Dolphin game, didn't see that being the way it was. So, like you said, Jets Saints is very big as far as, head to head competition for Tankathon. Jets right now are number 5 as we record this. It's Giants, Raiders, Titans, Browns, Jets. And so that's a big one. New Orleans is playing a lot better lately. They're on a 2-game winning streak. Hell, they almost beat Miami. They almost beat Miami the week before that. Right. They really could have been on a 3-game winning streak. And Shug's been playing well. I think Shug, he might have gotten hurt at the end of the game. I'm not positive, but look,
sure.
The Saints are playing pretty well, and that game is in New Orleans. So, look, the Jets could win that game, certainly, but I don't know. New Orleans beat the Giants earlier in the year, so it wouldn't be the first time that they beat a New York team at home. But and also with the Colts pick, it just gets better and better and better. That is very likely going to be a mid-round pick.
It looks like it, right? Because now the Colts have San Francisco after this, I believe, and then they got the Jags and the Texans. So they easily
could lose out
games, and be 8-9 to end the season.
Yeah, I see them going 8-9 or 9-8.
Yeah, right. They might get one of these games here, but hard to say.
Because they were competitive today, there's still some fight there. But man, I think that worked out really perfectly. So again, there's little things like that. It's more of the off the field sort of things like that, the way that the league is, right? Like, that gives us, reasons to, the small victories, if you will, I guess. But, and they're not really that small. But the funny thing would be, and again, I don't think we're going to keep that. We're going to win at some point. Again, Raiders being maybe one of them. But it would be interesting if the Giants and Jets did make a deal where the Jets did trade, the things they got for Sauce or Quentin Williams in a move up, and the Giants trade down like that. There is a world where like that could happen.
100%.
And that would be real interesting. I'm not sure if you've kind of heard that talk at all. And again, unfortunately, there's 3 weeks to go, so a lot can change.
Yes, I've been hearing those talks, as well, and I've been hearing kind of like mixed results about whether or not the Giants would want to do something like that with the Jets, because like God forbid the Giants like give that, for God forbid Mendoza becomes something, let's just say, and then like the story's going to be that the Giants like gifted the Jets this, even though we would give you guys picks, but still like the optics. So yeah,
I mean, and look, as annoying as that could be, I guess, like, look, they're not in the same conference,
right? It's different.
If the package is good enough, I think for the Giants, I think you have to take it.
Yeah,
and you can't care about what the Jets are going to do with that. If you are going to get a haul and the Jets have the draft collateral to move up, then I think you have to strongly consider it. But again, there's the Raiders factor in here. There's a lot of other things that
much
that may change it completely. So again,
100%.
I would be a little bit, I know it's a small thing, but for all Giant fans, I would have been a little more upbeat if the Cowboys beat the Vikings. It has me very concerned that last week of the season against Dallas. I really fear that the Giants could win that game. Again, I know the response to me is like, this Giant team is terrible, which yes, I acknowledge that they are, but it gets a little bit different when you're facing a team that was recently eliminated and is just kind of going through the motions versus a team that is on a fucking 9-10 game losing streak. We've seen it before.
100%.
You eventually do, unless you're, again, the Raiders or the Giants will really test that because one's got to win there, or one is going to continue to lose.
Right.
But yeah, no, I mean, that's kind of where my head has been at for a while now. And we're going to continue to, of course, talk about the games at hand and the fallout and but it's a lot of big picture conversation at this point.
Yeah, it is. And, exactly. With this QB class coming in with Mendoza, who just won the Heisman, that's the thing too. And it's like, it's funny because, some of the, other podcasters out there and stuff like that have been kind of like comping Mendoza to like Kirk Cousins, so to speak. Not even the personality, which is totally Kirk Cousins-esque, but even the way his style of play and stuff like that. And so, I know myself and I know a couple other Jet fans are kind of like, do we want to trade all this capital that we acquired from Sauce Gardner to go up to get someone of like a Kirk Cousins? Like, I guess like that's another thing, I guess, in the Jet world that we're debating whether or not is are we gonna go all in on Mendoza and give up a lot of picks, or if we, like, let's just say we do beat the Saints and we're more in like the 10-11 range, are we really going to trade all this to get up there for Mendoza? Or are we going to just maybe do like a bridge quarterback situation again next year, which I know sounds awful, but, because I think the class after this year's is supposed to be very good. So,
right.
And then we'll have the 3 first-round picks for that year. So that's also tantalizing. Yeah.
And I know that typically you have to trade up to get the QBs in most cases, but I'm wondering, like, is there a world where, like, if the Jets, let's say the Jets are unable, because it is going to be tough for them to get to like the top spot. Let's say the Jets end up like kind of in that 3 to 5 range.
Yeah.
Is there a world where they take like a Dante Moore or Ty Simpson? Like, is it possible like where that's what ends up happening? Or is it kind of, if it's not Mendoza, you may as well go with just a non-QB?
Yeah, I mean, I could see them doing a Dante Moore situation. I know he's been kind of like, I would say, the second QB that I know, like in the Jet world, we've been talking about, a little bit more raw, I believe. But yeah, I mean, it could be interesting. I mean, I guess, I guess anything is better than what we're dealing with right now at this point. But, just, I guess my point earlier is just like, yeah, like Mendoza seems like a great prospect, but I also want us to be smart with our draft capital and not just be like, oh, well,
right,
it's got to work
throw
with
it away.
Mendoza and let's throw it all away. But, like you said, there's still 3 weeks to go. So, a lot can happen. Again, that Raiders Giants game, I feel like is even bigger almost than this Jets Saints game
Oh yeah,
in
it is.
terms of, because if you guys can knock if the Raiders can win and go down a few notches, then I think that whole conversation that you were just alluding to about the Jets and the Giants talking, that becomes more of a reality. Absolutely.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah. It's funny with the Jets, even though the Jets have one more win than the Giants, I think once you get past the Saint game, there isn't as much fear. The only
Ye-
thing would be, I guess, if there's a world where that Bill game where somehow things get settled out.
yeah,
But like you said, with you think that it will mean something in all likelihood.
I think
Whereas
so.
with the Giants, all three games, I mean, including the Washington, the last 4 games, really, like, legitimately, the Giants could maybe win any of them.
Squeak them out. Yeah.
I think if you're the Jets, you get by this New Orleans game, you may finish 3-14. And again, crazy things have happened. You never know. Division games get weird, but like, yeah, it's a pretty big. Hey, look, Jets Saints is big in terms of losing the game.
Right. Yeah. So we shall see, guys. I mean, that'll be next week. So stay tuned for that. And as Derek said, the Giants will be playing the Vikings at home for this one, or is that away? Is that in Viking?
It's at home.
It's at home. So,
Yeah.
stay tuned for that, guys. I guess we're going to just kind of wrap up here. But, I mean, just kind of thinking about some major storylines. End of an era for the Chiefs, right? I mean,
Yeah.
and I'm sure you saw on Twitter already how like this whole thing with the Brady Mahomes comparison now that like in year 9 they both tear their ACLs and their teams don't make the playoffs, even though it's a little different circumstances. I mean, Brady, the first week of the season, and the season was already
was over. Right.
but it's just funny that I saw that on Twitter. I was just like, I guess that's something to talk about.
Yeah, it's crazy how the timing of him getting hurt. Now, look, they were still in the game, and if they had won,
yeah, they were driving down the field a little bit.
If they won, I guess it puts the Chiefs in a situation where, okay, like the Chargers are the team that we could, maybe catch, right? But it is weird how simultaneously the whole thing kind of ends at once. Now, look, was there a world where Gardner Minshew and is there a world where the Chiefs could have still stayed alive? Yeah, but essentially it all happened at once.
Yeah.
Where Mahomes gets hurt, they get eliminated. Who would have thought that with 3 weeks left, Chiefs are already eliminated?
It's insane.
It's really crazy. So yeah, it's going to be a bit of a different look, especially in the AFC.
Yeah, I mean, if
it's going to be a different look.
I mean, if Josh Allen doesn't win it this year, I mean, I don't think there's
Right.
going to be any year. I mean, Lamar, like, I
Right.
mean, look,
In
the
terms of at
Ravens
least getting to the Super Bowl.
exactly right, because I mean, the Ravens are still, alive. They won today, but they're very beatable. Ever since Lamar got hurt, he's not been the same. So that's he really. This is the year for them, but we will see. I don't know.
Yeah, that was a huge win for Buffalo.
Huge
to
win.
come back like that.
21-0, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, on the road, like New England was really running hot. So that was, and look, New England still very well might win the division because just when you look at kind of the tiebreakers stuff and whatever,
Right.
New England still kind of is in the driver's seat, but we'll see, right? I mean,
Big game against Baltimore, Sunday Night Football next week.
Yes.
So if they somehow don't win that game, then there's really, then Buffalo can easily take it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it could turn.
Yeah.
But yeah, the AFC, the sad thing with the AFC is the only really drama as far as who's in it or who's out is that AFC North Steelers Ravens. Other than that, look, as much as the Colts story with Phillip Rivers would be cool, I'm not going to lie, like it's a very unlikely situation, right? So like I said, you only really have one spot that's up for grabs and it's in the North.
100%. I think that'll absolutely be the Sunday night game for week 18. You know what I mean? Because those two play each other.
True.
So I think that, like you're saying, it just seems destined to be that game. The Steelers play the Dolphins tomorrow night on Monday Night Football, assuming that they'll win that game. But who knows? The Dolphins are 6-7. They've been on a little bit of a heater lately. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, then in the NFC, it's basically, the lines are in a little bit. I mean, look, them losing at the Rams is not surprising, but they're in a bit of trouble right now. I mean,
certainly.
But
Bears won
3 weeks
again.
to go.
Yeah.
Bears won. Took advantage of the good matchup home against the Browns. And as far as the NFC goes, it's more again, it's the South.
Yeah.
Big loss by the Panthers. That was a very big loss for the Panthers, where the Bucs lost on Thursday night to the Falcons, and the Panthers returned the favor right back around. And so now those two teams play twice in the last 3 weeks of the season. So if somehow the Ravens Steelers is not the Sunday night game, let's say somehow things get
that.
solved out by then, it could be, it's a much worse, a less interesting version, but
Not
Bucks
as
Panthers
sexy,
could
but
maybe be,
yeah.
more offense, but
More
definitely,
offense. Hey, Baker, Baker's always entertaining. But yeah.
But yeah, so, some interesting storylines for sure.
Yeah.
And down the stretch.
Yeah, this time of year is always great, especially as we're ramping up for playoff football, best time of the year. So that's something to look forward to. And then our seasons will be over. We don't have to, recap these meaningless fucking games, but
been doing it for too long
yeah,
now.
yeah. I mean, look, we love it, but towards this part of the year, it starts wearing on you for sure.
Yeah.
But anyway, I guess we'll call it here, guys. As always, just thank you again for watching and subscribing. We got over the 2K hump a few days ago, and just super grateful for that. I think we're at about 2,060 subscribers that as of this recording. So, share with your friends and family, anyone that loves to talk New York sports. We'd love to have them, join on the show and comment and, being part of the community here. We do these football shows, obviously, but Derek always does Rangers recaps. Every time that there's a Rangers game, well, there'll be one tomorrow. So be sure to look out for Derek on that episode. And once the baseball season is here, Derek likes to do series recaps of all the Yankee series. And, we'll definitely be talking about some of the off-season stuff here. It's been a little bit dead on the Yankee
It's been
side
quiet.
of thing. So,
But
Derek did a short about the Ahmed Rosario re-signing, which was nice to see. But obviously, we are expecting a lot more activity from the Yankees here.
I feel like we're just waiting. I feel like we're just waiting on Cody Bell. Like, right? It feels like
big one. Yeah,
I want to see what happens to Cody Bellinger, right? And then from there, maybe things start to kind of happen.
right.
But
That almost seems like the thing that's holding up everything, because obviously the Mets are, in the running here for Cody. I think the years is something I heard that the years is the thing that's kind of been the point of contention here. He wants like something more like 7 or 8 years.
which is
absurd.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I mean, look, he's a great player. I would love to have him back on our team. I feel like we desperately need that versatility. But that whole fucking thing with Trent Grisham just totally fucked.
Yes. Yeah. It's just gonna bother me. I don't like, right? Like, even if that just it left such a bad taste. I'm about to start the off season, just him being there. It feels as if we're just so much more limited.
It's a kill,
and everything about it just didn't really make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, that was a brain dead move by Cashman.
Yeah,
I mean,
terrible.
He really thought that he wasn't going to do it, but I think even Trent Grisham knows like that year is never going to be replicated again. So let me collect this $20 million, and
right.
I'll go back to that. I'll go back to that 230, and
right. I'll be the center fielder of the fucking Yankees and basically play every game, and be in such a cushy situation. Give me $22 million. Hell yeah.
Yeah,
I'll take it.
So, yeah. So anyway, guys, we'll be having more episodes this off season about the Yankee stuff as well. So definitely make sure to tune in for that. But yeah, until next time, guys, this is producer Casey with Derek. It's always a pleasure, my guy. And we'll see you guys soon. Take care.